Hello, and thank you for watching this complete native landscape design video. One of the focuses in this design is to provide some supporting color and interest for this Winterberry shrub. The end design uses this native pink Muhly grass, which is pictured here in fall bloom at the base of the Winterberry. The Muhly grass is surrounded by this low-growing Aster ground cover, which also blooms in the fall. These natives are combined with 10 other native plants to create great curb appeal. To get us started, we need three things. First, I'll share a site overview of the conditions. Second, I'll share old pictures of plants that did not work in this space. Lastly, I'll share homeowner goals and preferences. I'll turn all three into a landscape design, and I'll be sure to include details of each plant used. Okay, let's get started. I have three pictures to orient you to the area. The first picture is the front of the house. I included this picture to highlight that the rest of the yard is filled with native shrubs and perennials that bloom throughout the year. We'll focus on a redesign of the area to the left between the driveway and the walkway. This second picture is an overhead view of the surrounding area. The landscape design is for this area circled in red. While I have this view, it's a good time to share a compass. This way, you can see the sun will rise at the bottom of the screen and set at the top of the screen. In the morning, the sun should be blocked by these trees, and in the afternoon, around 2:30 p.m., the sun should pass the house, providing some shade to this area. Therefore, I would expect our area to be part sun, but this is not the case. I'll expand on this more after we look at the old pictures. For now, I want to move to the last picture, which is a close-up of our area. 3 points to highlight here. First, the area looks square, but it's pretty curvy, as you can see when I highlight the edges with red lines. Second, the overall dimensions are approximately 19 feet wide from the house to the lawn and 15 feet deep from the driveway to the house. Lastly, I'll share that in heavy rains, the water washes down the walkway and can wash out this area. It's only in heavy rains, but worth noting because it has impacted efforts to improve soil conditions with compost and leaf mold. Next, I want to share some old pictures. Typically when working on a design, I don't have old photos to learn from, but in this case, we have a couple photos to share. The first picture is from April 22nd. I'm showing this picture so you can see the beautiful pink phlox. This phlox was previously planted at the end of the driveway in 2022. It struggled, so it was moved to its new location away from the driveway where it's thriving as a border to the lawn. The second picture is from May 14th. Considering this area was thought to be part shade, green and gold was used to spill across the driveway and replace the phlox. The green and gold filled in nicely and looks great in bloom. However, if you look closely at the leaf color, you'll notice the light green color. Here's a different picture of green and gold in a woodland setting, and you can see the leaves are much darker. The reality is that green and gold did not do well in this area. In the summer, all the green and gold burned up and required frequent watering to survive. To learn more about green and gold, which is a great perennial when used in part shade, check out this video, which includes 3 design examples. Next, while looking at the same photo, I'll share the other plant behind the green and gold, which is catmint on both sides of the walk. Catmint is a great pollinator that thrives in poor soil, and it excelled in this area. However, there are 2 drawbacks with catmint. First, catmint is not native and doesn't look great in the winter, as you can see in this December photo. Now, it's time for the final piece that will influence plant selection, which is to consider our 4 customer goals. First, the homeowner wants to keep the existing footprint, and they want to keep the existing Fothergilla, Winterberry, and coral bells, which have all done well. The third goal relates to plants. All plants are to be native, and considering the phlox and green and gold failed, we must use plants that will thrive in poor soil and drought conditions. The plants are to be planted closely together to mimic nature so they fill in quickly and crowd out weeds to keep long-term maintenance down. The last note is there are no concerns with deer, but there is an abundance of eastern cottontail rabbits nearby. The homeowner is comfortable sharing with the rabbits and has adopted regenerative practices to manage the lawn so there are no herbicides or fertilizers applied to the grass the rabbits eat. If you want to learn more about regenerative lawn care, check out our video which covers everything you need to know about healthy lawns that are weed-free. So, let's get started with the 3 plants that are staying. First are Fothergilla shrubs planted at the corner of the house. If you're not familiar with Fothergilla, it has amazing spring interest as you can see in these pictures. I do want to highlight that Fothergilla is native to the United States, but its region is the Southeast, and the sizes can vary based on the variety you select. For more information on Fothergilla, check out our super creative video where I play matchmaker to determine if Fothergilla is right for you. Now, I want to point out I'm not using traditional colors in my landscape design. I'm intentionally using the color of each plant's flower or fruit in the design, which is why I use white for Fothergilla, and up next I use red for Winterberry. The end result of the design is a little overwhelming, but I thought it was fun to mix it up. So next is Winterberry, which is a great shrub for winter interest. This picture is from January 31st, so birds started eating the berries at the top, and they are working their way down the shrub. With winterberries, you need a male and a female that flower at the same time for pollination. The male is planted about 65 yards away on the other side of the driveway. I also want to highlight that Winterberry typically grows as a shrub, but this is pruned at the bottom, so it has more of a small tree look. The last holdover is a variety of coral bells. This picture doesn't look amazing when it was taken on January 31st, so it is a plant that will provide winter interest, and it will perk up with new growth in the spring. This plant prefers shade and wet conditions, so this does not fit our criteria for plants that thrive in full sun and poor soil. However, this spot receives the most shade out of this area, and the soil improves as you move away from the driveway. We'll keep an eye on these to make sure they perform well with their new neighbors. Okay, finally, time to make some additions. If you haven't already done so, please click like and subscribe while I get started at the front side of the design that is facing the street. I took a big risk in this area because I selected plants that prefer full sun, but the Winterberry will shade part of this area. It's risky, but worth a shot when you look at this picture of all 3 plants in the fall. Unfortunately, I just planted these in the fall of 2023, so we have to wait for the fall of 2024 to see how this turns out. For now, I'll cover the new plants individually. The first is pink muhly grass. I already shared a picture of this in bloom, so this time I'm sharing a winter picture from January to highlight the white color, which is still a great contrast to the red berries after fall bloom. This is definitely my favorite native grass because it can handle poor soil and full sun and still has a great bloom. One important note when using pink muhly grass in designs is that it is a warm season grass, so it will not start growing until after the spring when temperatures warm. Next is a low-growing Aster ground cover, which you can see the entire plant is covered with small white flowers in the fall. There are not many native ground covers that are so showy and can handle full sun. Now that we have the front area, I'm going to move to this middle area. My initial thought is to add shrubby St. John's wort, but there are several St. John's wort shrubs in the front landscape already. For this spot, we want variety, and we want something with a little more height that will stand out in the summer months, so I went with a combination of common sneezeweed and false sunflower. I'll start with common sneezeweed, which is the taller of the two and will provide some good interest in the summer. Sneezeweed has good structure and long blooms. I'm not sure why this plant is not used more often in landscape designs. Next is false sunflower, which does not have as much structure as the sneezeweed. I'm okay with this. I want a pop of color behind the winterberry that will cover the ground with a nice long summer bloom, so this is the perfect plant for the spot. Next is the front center of the peninsula. I added a couple sundrops. I don't get too caught up with flower colors, but it's easy to see all three of these center plants have similar bloom colors. The sundrops are lower to the ground and will bloom in the spring. In the fall, the leaves turn red, so they provide multiple seasons of interest. To learn more about sundrops with design examples, check out our video on sundrops. The remaining area, I used a mix of low-growing ground covers. First is Amsonia, which has an early spring bloom. This is another underused perennial in the landscape, considering how hardy it is once established. The next ground cover is butterfly milkweed, which encircles the peninsula. Butterfly milkweed is known for its use in health strips and poor soil conditions, so this is going to do very well in this area and attract loads of bees and butterflies. Lastly is the other side of the walkway where two evergreen ground covers are planted. I like the way this works in the winter with the evergreens and the winterberry providing pops of color while the peninsula is rather plain. The first ground cover is Packera, which has loads of yellow flowers in the spring, as you can see here. All these flowers lead to seeds, so this can spread aggressively considering that Packera can handle a wide variety of sun and soil conditions. The last ground cover is Verbena, which I've had trouble establishing in other areas. However, once established, this is a drought-resistant ground cover with these amazing purple blooms. This completes our landscape design. Please leave a comment to let me know if anything was not clear or you have any questions. Also, please like and subscribe to be notified as we post native plant content, and check out our other videos available now.